Welcome to the power of public plazas. Over the last several months, we've done a tremendous research into 100 very successful plazas in the United States and Canada, and we're going to show you the 13 ingredients to creating the perfect plaza, told through a dozen case histories and lots of examples. So here we go. A plaza is a central gathering place. People are the heart of your community, your downtown. Your plaza is the soul. And so here is the setup for what we're about to go through. Number one, North America is moving to the European standard. We're baby countries, both Canada and the United States. We built our communities around the automobile, and now for the first time we want out of our cars in a pedestrian atmosphere. In Europe, nearly every city or town was built around a piazza, a plaza area, live with music, street artisans, vendors, restaurants, and retail shops. They are ringed with all of these different things, all of these activities. You're seeing pictures from Siena right here, or Florence, or Rome, or other places in Italy. And it's not just refined to Italy. You'll find it in places like Quebec City in Canada. You'll find it everywhere, and more cities are developing plaza areas as a foundation for the revitalization of their downtowns. We are moving to what we call the European standard. And this is what we want: central gathering places, cafes. And another thing that's happening is we want entertainment, street vendors, buskers, whatever you want to call them. And that's what you'll see. We are also shopping and dining later and later. You know, we're at work until 5 and most downtowns are closed at 6. That doesn't work anymore. This is why even traditional malls are now open till 9 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. We want out of our cars in a pedestrian-friendly, intimate setting. You know, here's a couple of photos from downtown Belfast in Northern Ireland, where they've took streets and closed them off to create pedestrian malls, and it's been very successful. And it's time we learned for what these European cities are doing. This picture here is in Cape May, New Jersey, a small town in the southern tip of New Jersey. And they've done it, and it's one of the most charming towns in the entire state of New Jersey. And finally, we want third places. The first place is the place we live. It's our home. The second place is the place we work. And the third place is the place we go to hang out, and that's what plaza areas bring to any downtown. So, we're going to go through 3 different parts, and here is part 1, the recipe for the perfect plaza, the 13 things you need to do when you develop or program your plaza. Number 1, turn your downtown parks into plazas. Downtown parks happen to be pretty places, but we want gathering places. They should be beautiful, but they need to be gathering places. As an example, this is Oxnard, California, which is on the shore between Malibu and Santa Barbara next to Ventura. This is their downtown. You can see the buildings on the left. The plan is to demolish those and put a public market. But on the right of your screen, you do see this plaza area or a park area, but it's pretty, it's lawn area. So what if you took, you can three segments there. You can see the left one is really much like an amphitheater might be. The top right one where the trees are is a veterans memorial. Maybe that could stay there so you still have some lawn. Then the lower right quadrant might turn into another kind of activity space. And if you look at this photo, you can see a farmer's market down there on the street. What if that farmer's market was put behind the plaza area and they were given a permanent home? So what if you took this pretty place and turned it into a gathering place? And that's what you see here in this artist rendition, as doing something like this. You've got the amphitheater space, and even if there's nothing going in this little amphitheater, it's still a place to grab lunch, sit down. You can see a water feature to the right. Notice how it steps down into this lower plaza. That creates a fence without creating a real fence. For kids, they stay confined in that area. And by the way, you could shut off those fountains and do art, theater, movie, theater in the round, any kinds of other activities. And notice back behind it to the right is a permanent year-round public market. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about turning parks into plaza areas. I'll give you another example. This is Ovation Plaza in Old Strathcona, which is a part of the downtown of Edmonton, Alberta. The population in Edmonton is about 1 million people, but in Old Strathcona, their population in that district, which this plaza would serve, is about 70,000. Now, this hasn't been built yet. It is just a conceptual idea of what you could do. In their downtown, they have this empty lot. At one time, it was a gas station. And they're trying to figure out, what do we do with this? Is it sold to developers and we build a hotel there? You know, what can we do with this space? And we said, boy, it's right in the heart of this district. Maybe we could turn this into a public plaza. And by the way, notice those buildings in the back. Wouldn't it be cool if those were redeveloped with higher rise buildings forward to the plaza with first floor retail or restaurants that would front what could be a plaza? So the idea is to take this and turn it into an outstanding plaza. Now, right across the street where this picture was taken, this is what you have. So that plaza is just directly across the street. It's already a fabulous dining and shopping district. It's one of the showcases in all of Edmonton, this area of Old Strathcona. You know, it's full of life. And so right across the street, could we turn this into a central gathering place? So here it is at ground level. Notice the building in the background, it's got a lot of graffiti on it. What if that stayed there and attached to that was actually a stage, a permanent year-round stage? So if you were here, here's looking kind of across, kitty corner from it. And if you're standing on that building on the right, see where the arrow's pointing, that is the plaza area. But notice off to the left, there's a place called Chianti. See the clock tower there? That is a great restaurant, and behind that restaurant is a seating area that would also look across the street to the plaza area. But if you were standing on that rooftop, and here is that dining area, and you were looking kitty corner across the street, can you imagine going from that dirt empty lot to this? That is the idea. You can see the clock tower on the right there. Now, notice where that building is, where the graffiti was. Could you have a stage there? And notice how there's kind of an amphitheater in front of that. Notice it's got flush-mounted fountains in it right now. And you could shut off those fountains and fill that whole plaza full of chairs so that you could have concerts. You could actually hang a movie screen down over that building and actually do movies in the plaza. And you see the 3 buildings back behind there, those could be redeveloped in something and move forward to where you'd actually have dining right on the plaza. And then if you notice, the back half of the plaza is all available for vendor space, for food trucks or farmers markets or art shows or any other kinds of activities. This creates a central gathering place. It is a nucleus. So that's one example. There's where you go, there's how you could develop those buildings there. So that's number 1. Number 2, location is important. You know, it needs to be the nucleus to your downtown. So putting a plaza out on the outskirts does not revitalize the downtown. It needs to be as centrally located as you can possibly get it and right next to all the shopping and dining areas. So let me give you a case history. This is Market Square in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Population is about 300,000 in the city, and of course the metropolitan area is much larger than that. When was it developed? In 2006 they started it, and it opened in 2010. They spent $5 million to dig the place up and start over, and that was their terminology. And it is about 28,800 square feet or 2,676 square meters. So that gives you a general idea of the size. This was it after they dug it up. And you can see the retail buildings around there and what could be condos or hotel. This is it before, and this is it after. Notice how it's the nucleus here, and everything gravitates around it. So there's a picture of it from the air. Here it is down closer. One thing about this, they didn't have terraces in this one because they wanted to see across it. At one point, this was kind of a seedy, different area, and so they wanted to have easy sight through the whole plaza area. So here you can see it. Here you can see it when the trees, and this is fairly new. Remember, these trees are only a couple years old now, and they're starting to come up, and you can see how beautiful it is. You can see the stage area where they have the tent off to the right there with kind of the peaked roof on it. Here it is from a different angle. Is this cool or what? Notice they have vendors all around the plaza. And by the way, you can see kind of a brick walkway around the plaza that makes it better. So just that interior plaza area is what really encompasses about the 30,000 square feet. Here you can see the car areas and vendor vehicle areas around the plaza. The entire space takes up about 60,000 square feet, so about an acre and a half. So here you can see it again. Notice all the vendor trucks backed in there and everything. It is a hub of activity in a place that had no life before. And since they've done this plaza, millions of dollars have been spent revitalizing downtown Pittsburgh, and it's starting to grow from the plaza area. It is just one of the coolest things ever, and totally reinvented and revitalized and encouraged private development in downtown Pittsburgh. So here you go. It's a gathering place 365 days a year, 7 days a week. It is really an outstanding destination. Music, food, vendors, entertainment, you name it, it is a terrific example of a public plaza in a nucleus area of a city. You know, all of these blocks around it are now being revitalized and invested in. This is across the street from the plaza. You know, now you see these places that are being revitalized with outdoor cafes. You can see they're just putting down the pavers. The workman's just doing that. Now these are all full of restaurants now. It is incredible what this has done for downtown Pittsburgh. And you can see all these restaurants are now lined up all the way around the plaza with retail shops in other areas. This is what you need to do. And by the way, yes, I know this is a big city, but this works in small communities as well as it works in the big cities. It always starts as a nucleus. And this is what plazas are meant to be. You can see how we're imitating or emulating what they're doing in Europe. A central gathering place. You know, Starbucks built an entire brand about creating third places like this, and that's what this does. Here it is at night. You can see how well it's lit up, and even the buildings around it are well lit up. And there you go. This is it at Christmas, an incredible Christmas event that just brings in hundreds of thousands of people down into downtown. You name it, it's full of activities. And here it is during the winter months. How great is that? And by the way, see the building in the background where they're doing all the facade improvements and everything? These are now incredible places to live and work, and they are full. So what was this prior? It was an old park with vehicle access. They even called it Drug Central. Nobody wanted to be there. How'd they pay for it? $5 million. City and state spent $3.75 million, and local foundations, local fundraising put in another $1.25 million. And who runs it? The Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership and Market Square Merchant Association, all the merchants that wrap around it. The annual budget is about $100,000 a year. They do that holiday market that you saw in the photos, is about $700,000 to produce and everything, but it is funded 100% by sponsors. So, some other notes about this. Totally revitalized downtown Pittsburgh. It was the nucleus project that totally reinvented and spurred private investment into downtown. They tested outdoor dining here for 2 years before they even did the plaza. And you know what they found out? It worked. And then there are 12 restaurants with 6 more on the way. You know, the more you have, the further people come and the longer they will stay. There are 14 buildings around the square that have redone all their facades and even interior development. The businesses increase their hours. They're open later in the evening, and they're very robust. Pedestrian traffic increased by 116%. And it spurred $1.2 billion in private investment and more than 2,000 jobs in downtown Pittsburgh. And after 4 tries, one of the merchants said they finally got it right. It's the nucleus. Number 3, you know, make sure you include water, year-round interactive water. And so let me explain that. This is taken on Navy Pier in Chicago with the little water jets going over the planters there. You can see the kid walking through that. We want water that's interactive. So let me give you another case history. This is Campus Martius Park in downtown Detroit. Population is about 700,000, bigger in the metropolitan area. When was it developed? It opened in 2004. The approximate cost was $20 million for this one, but wait till you see it. And it is about 1.6 acres or 6,500 square meters. So here is before. This was a traffic nightmare here. You can see roads coming in which way. You can see that big statue or right there in the middle of the intersection, and this was it in 1899. It's had no chance of surviving because of all the vehicular traffic. Here it is later on. You can see off in the background there to the left, the area that's being redeveloped and where Campus Martius Park will actually become. And so here it is today. Is that cool or what? Now you noticed in the background, you can see the stage, then you see a lawn area, then you see a major water feature, then you see another lawn area, and you see it ringed with seating areas and restaurants off to the left, and then you can see where that statue is now placed. This is Campus Martius Park. It is beautiful. Beautification is important, but once again, it is a park, but it's a plaza area. And it is an incredible gathering place. Here it is at night. You can see how well lit up the water features are, and it's still full of people. You know, here you can see some of the raised planters, the seating areas, the umbrellas you have. You can see the stage off to the background in the right here in this photo. And here it is at night, and by the way, in the winter, that water turns to ice. So it doesn't mean you have to have interactive fountains year-round if you have a cold climate. In this case, the water turns to ice. It's still interactive, and this is a major size ice skating rink. It has been a huge benefit for downtown Detroit. So what was it prior? It was a concrete island and a downtown eyesore. Funding sources, the Detroit Conservancy put in $8 million. It's a nonprofit. Ford Motor Company, it's headquartered, of course, in the Detroit area, is put in $8 million. And the city of Detroit put in $4 million to develop this. Who manages it? The city owns it, and it's managed by Detroit 300 Conservancy. So, some other notes. It was overwhelmed by heavy vehicular traffic before. You saw all those intersections that worked there. And it hosts more than 200 events a year, 250 event days a year. And even for the other 110 days, it's still a central gathering spot. They have 1,500 Paris-style chairs, and they're not fastened down. You can just pick one up and walk away, and not a single chair has been stolen in the 8+ year history of the plaza, not one chair. How cool is that? People embrace and protect things that they take ownership of, and that's what plaza areas do. They host over 1 million people a year. 500,000 people go ice skate in the winter months. And it's the basis for $500 million in new private development projects. So that's how important public plazas are. And water. Number 4, amphitheater space creates a sense of intimacy. So let me give you another case. This is Pioneer Courthouse Square in downtown Portland, Oregon. They call the square the heart of downtown. Population is about 600,000 in Portland, a little bigger in the metropolitan area. They opened it in 1984. The approximate cost was about $6.5 million, which would be twice that today. The size, it's about 40,000 square feet, 3,700 square meters, a little less than an acre. And check this out. See how it's built around the steps? You can see the ground. You can see this from there. Notice the pillars in the foreground to the left, and it's ringed with trees here. That's it from an aerial view. Here it is from the ground level. You can see the steps in the background there. And see, by the way, you see that entrance area down there in the middle? That is actually their visitor information center. Here's a close-up of it. But you notice, even when there's nothing going on, people still grab the sandwiches, they'll grab their iPads or tablets, they will sit on the steps there. It's just a gathering place, even when there's nothing going on. And so here you see how important this amphitheater in the shell is. It's a great way to create seating areas without necessarily all the tables and chairs. You can even see the sheltered areas back that are covered back in the ground. It gets a little wet in Seattle and Portland area. And here it is when there's a band performing or cheerleaders performing here. You can see how the amphitheater turns into actual space. And you can see the Visitor Information Center right there in the background. You can even see Starbucks back there. Talk about third places. And there you go. And the public restrooms are right there. And then here's other times when we have just a public market going on. You know, as a matter of fact, you can see a sandcastle contest back there. Here it is where they brought up a movie screen and they show movies at dusk or at night during the summer months there. Is that cool or what? And so now you've got tables and chairs and lawn chairs. People can bring their own. Plus you have the amphitheater seating. You know, this is another event there where they actually have all these plants. See them, all the little pots that are actually shaped like countries in Europe. You know, so you can figure out where they are. It's almost like a puzzle. It's just really cool how you do this. And here it is at dusk where the place is just packed. You can see a band on the stage right there. And it's a portable stage they bring in, so it's configurable space. What was it prior? A parking garage. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh my gosh, they got rid of parking to put in a plaza. We have seen that everywhere, and every single place there was a lot of consternation about removing parking and putting in plaza areas, and afterwards, no one complained. You know, if you have a plaza area, maybe it's worth walking a block or two for. So it was a parking garage. Local community raised $1.5 million. They sold 80,000 name bricks at $15 each, and then they got federal and state grants to build this. The management, Pioneer Courthouse Square, Inc., a nonprofit. And they have 5 full-time, 1 part-time administrative assistant to program it, to keep it alive, to maintain it, and take care of it. Their budget is $2.3 million a year, which is done with in-kind donations, about $500,000, additional brick sales, and just this last winter, they sold 150 of them at $100 a piece. So they keep raising the money. Some notes, they have 320 programmed event days a year out of 365 days. That is fabulous. They have a 70% retention with event clients. These are organizations that come in and host events there. 70% keep coming back year after year to use the courthouse square. They see 26,000 visitors a day, year round. And it totally reinvented their downtown and spurred in major investments. Their word to the wise, keep investing in the infrastructure. Remember, it was developed in 1984, and now they're having to reinvest in that infrastructure. So always make sure it's in your budget to do that. And here's another great case history, the waterfront in Halifax, Nova Scotia. The population of Halifax is about 390,000. They have a tremendous waterfront, and one little area, an amphitheater along the waterfront, is right here. You can see residential behind it, condominiums, apartment complex, and you can see even when there's nothing going on the stage, which is in the foreground, it's still a central gathering place. People grab their lunch, they hang out there, and it just creates a sense of intimacy. And that's what's so great about these amphitheaters. They don't have to be big, huge. They can seat 20 people, they can seat 200 people, or they can seat 1,000. Here it is from the amphitheater looking forward. And here it is again. Just a great addition to their waterfront. And then sometimes they have bands out there. This is just off to the side of that little stage. Sometimes they're on the stage, but it still creates seating areas, places for entertainers to come, buskers, you name it, and it attracts people. And that spurs spending. Number 5, plazas must be programmed. Building a space and leaving it open does not solve the problem. Matter of fact, that creates problems, so it needs to be programmed. Here is 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, California. The population of Santa Monica is about 90,000. When it was developed in 1989, they designed it in the 70s when malls went out to the suburbs. When there was all this flight out to the suburbs, the malls came in, and then downtown started to die, and so they started designing them, but it took them a long time, and they finally opened it in 1989. Approximate cost was $3 million in 1989 dollars. The size, it's 3 blocks long. And in any case, this was a major thoroughfare right down 3rd Avenue. You know, because what happened in Santa Monica, people were going out to the Santa Monica Pier, and this place was a blighted area that had lots of crime and drugs and everything, so they totally reimagined it into a pedestrian plaza. And so you can see what they've done now. There's still emergency vehicle access, but the center of what used to be a boulevard is now landscaping, water features. You can see a dinosaur there spraying water out into a little fountain area. And it has become one of the most popular destinations in entire Los Angeles area of Southern California. And notice there's music here. It's always programmed, whether it's banners, whether it's music, whether it's vendors, and there's all kinds of vendor booths there that come in day out and they sell all kinds of things, whether it's food or whether it is actual goods. And it is amazing what it has done. You must bring your plaza to life. Here's downtown Asheville. You know, it's in North Carolina. The population there is 84,500 people, and they basically turned their entire downtown into a plaza. It doesn't matter where you walk, you're going to see musicians and street vendors and entertainers. See that? It's kind of an iron there, an old-fashioned heated iron there. And here's a group of youth just getting ready to set up for their music. Another cool thing is they did these. These are almost like bus shelters. Notice the shelter there? And these have they're all full of art vendors. So see the wooden crates that you see right there that are all full of goods? At the end of the day, the artisans can actually pick those up, put them in their cars, and then the next morning they come out and it makes a year-round market right in their downtown. That is the coolest thing ever. You can do this in a plaza. In their case, they just had wide enough sidewalks that they were able to do this. Widen the sidewalks and then put in these vendor booths. But this is also something you do in a plaza. Many towns now are adding chess and checkerboards right in their downtown. That way your whole downtown becomes a vibrant plaza. And this is the little plaza in front of their civic center. And even my wife Jane got caught up in the act when we were in downtown Asheville. Number 6. This is adding music and lighting to your plaza area 24 hours a day. This is 16th Street in downtown Denver, Colorado. Population is 620,000. It opened late in October 1982. It took them 8 years to get it developed. The approximate cost was $76 million, so it was expensive, but they also ran shuttles because it's more than a mile long. It's 16 blocks long, so they had to actually shuttle people from one end to the other. So that was why this is much more expensive than most. But here it is. It's well lit. You can see lights in the foreground. They have lights on the buildings. You can see lights going down the boulevard on the left side there. It is just amazing what they did. It's beautiful 24 hours a day, even when the restaurants are closed. So here's what they did. They have really wide sidewalks you can see here. They have narrow street areas, and the only thing allowed in there are those shuttles. And here you can see little bus stops, covered areas, well lit, well designed. You know, even the benches and everything are pieces of art. It's just amazing what they've done. And so, another cool thing that they did in 16th Street is they added music by bringing in pianos and placing them around. I'll show you in a moment. Here's another area here where they have a little amphitheater seating area where they can bring in entertainment. They've got lawn areas. So the mix of lawn and plaza is really a great idea. So here you go. You can see it. And you can see how well lit it is. It's an amazing destination. It is the heart and soul of downtown Denver. There you go. A block away is Larimer Square, another neat little plaza area. Here you've got chessboards right here, right downtown, right on the plaza, and here's one of the pianos. They have 16 different pianos, and every year they take them inside and they repaint them. They're all like pieces of art. And it's awesome. People coming from everywhere. They just come down there and play the piano. And you can hear it all the way down the mall. Is that cool or what? During inclement weather, they'll cover them. During the winter months, they'll take them in. And then they're repainted, tuned, and then brought back out. The coolest thing ever. Music and lights. So, what was it prior? It was a primary thoroughfare right through Denver. The funding sources, 80% came from federal funds, and the remainder came from local tax base. And then who manages it? Downtown Denver has a business improvement district, and they're the ones who fund it. It is always evolving. 83,000 people a day spend time on the mall. And nearly a dozen artistically painted pianos were placed throughout the mall, and they call it your keys to the city. Very cool. Number 7, make sure there is ample vendor space and make sure it's relatively level, that vendor space. You know, having sloped plazas doesn't work very well for seating or for vendors or for food trucks or any kind of entertainment and activity you bring in. I'll give you a great example. This is Caras Park in Missoula, Montana. The population is just 67,000 people. When was this developed? In the 1980s. They used to do summer theater on the lawn, and then they gradually turned it from a lawn area into a plaza area. It was done over a period of years, so there was no big one development. And the size, the pavilion itself is 9,000 square feet, and the park is about 20,000 square feet. And so here you can see it. You can see where the parking area is there. You can see where the restrooms are in the building right next to the plaza. You can see a slope lawn. Then they have the vendor area. That's actually the heart of the plaza right there with a nice covering over it. Then they've got a stage over there. You can see a little round area. There's no stage in there yet. This was taken from Google Earth, and they haven't photographed since the stage was put there. And then you can see amphitheater seating around it. And this is what it looks like. Is that cool or what? Notice all the people, some in the amphitheater, some on the lawn. Here's another photo of it. Now you can see where the stage is now next to it. And here you go. You can see that there. And here's just examples of what Caras Park looks like. I was there last summer, and they had this lunch at the park, at the plaza. And people were coming from everywhere. They had food vendors there, and it was amazing. And then after lunch, they go back to work. And then there was concerts in the evening hours. It has really been a great example of what you can do in a downtown to make it a central gathering spot. Number 8, public restrooms are a must. And this is the public restroom at Caras Park. One thing they said to us is, you know what, we don't heat our restrooms, and we wish we would have. And so that is one thing for you in northern climates, is make sure you heat your restrooms so that your plaza becomes a year-round gathering space. You can see the shaded shelter back there in the background in that photo. Here's more Caras Park. You see the amphitheater off to the left that wraps around the stage, and you can see the pavilion area in the background here. Here's another shot of it from another angle. And by the way, now they're working on putting a permanent cover over that amphitheater. They just raised the money to do that. And here it is looking through that stage area right there. They were just packing this down when I took these photos there. Very, very cool space. Lots of vendor space there, which is very, very important. And see that structure there? They spent $600,000 on that. There it is. $280,000 of it was paid through tax increment financing. The other half was paid through fundraising efforts, just local businesses and sponsors and people coming together to build that structure. That was the most expensive part of the plaza, was that. And here's underneath the plaza tent area here. And once again, they brought in tables and chairs and had all kinds of vendors there for lunch at the plaza. And there it is again. Now they're working on actually redeveloping, working on fundraising to get a new tent over that structure. They have to be replaced every 5 or 10 years, or even 15 years. And of course, they always tell you, here's what's coming up next in the plaza. So what was it prior? It was just an unused grassy area. You know, Missoula Downtown Association runs it, the city owns it, and the city maintains the park, and then the Missoula Downtown Association actually programs it. They're looking for $450,000 to do a new band shell for landscape improvements and for better weather protection around the plaza area. So that's what I mean, it's always evolving. And they host more than 500,000 people a year and more than 40 annual events. So, number 9, beautification is essential. It doesn't mean you have to have a lot of lawn area. You need to have both plaza and lawn area, but street trees, beautification are all essential. And here's one of my favorite case histories in the entire North America. This is Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado. The population there is about 100,000. This was developed in 1977. Once again, when people moved out to the suburbs and the malls went with them, they had to reinvent downtown, and so that's when they started doing this. The approximate cost was $1.8 million in 1977 dollars. It might be $10 million today or even more than that. I don't know how that would translate. It's 4 blocks long. And here you go. Of course, it was a downtown street that is now all plaza area. And by the way, I don't recommend closing off streets just for the sake of closing off streets, because what's in the buildings is as important as the plaza area. And so that's what you do. They've got beautiful art. Notice everything's in planters. They have these little raised planters, everything. Notice all the tulips that they have planted there, the trees they have there. It creates shade, it creates ambience. Trees are very, very powerful and really help create a sense of intimacy in plaza areas. Isn't this stunning? It is just absolutely beautiful. And it's beautiful 12 months of the year. You know, so you can see how much effort they spent in just beautification. You see the benches between the raised planter areas. And they've got trees and they're surrounded by annual color, perennials, all those kinds of things. But it has just been an outstanding example of what to do and how to beautify a downtown or a plaza area. And notice some of the planters are raised a little more, so they create intimate areas and seating areas, just like you can see this father is looking after his son and his daughter right here in this little park. So they even have little plazas within a plaza here, a child's play area. You can see the beautification to the left and how they do the outdoor dining to the right there. People are attracted to beautiful places. And Pearl Street Mall is the standard bearer for the entire country. If you ever get a chance, I encourage you to go there. I mean, it is just stunning. And so there you get a taste of Pearl Street Mall in Boulder, Colorado, which, by the way, is about half an hour away from Denver and the 16th Street Mall there. You notice how they even did this? They even incorporated their history into dioramas right there next to the planting beds and planting areas. Isn't that cool? It's also a college town. And so here you go. This is Pearl Street Mall. Enjoy a couple more photos here. You know, and it looks like this 8, 9, 10 months of the year. In the winter, they light the trees. So what was it prior? It was the primary thoroughfare through downtown. Funding sources, they created an assessment district, paid 2/3 of it. The other third came from federal grants. Who manages it? The City Parks Department does. It's programmed by Downtown Management Division of the city. The annual budget's about $300,000 a year. A business improvement district spends additional $40,000 a year. And a lot of it is funded through parking revenue. So they park off-site and they come to the mall, and that money is reinvested into Pearl Street Mall in downtown. Some other notes, it's one of Colorado's most popular attractions. And we're talking about attractions there, not just a gathering area for locals. They get 15,000 tulips imported from Holland every year to supplement the beautification. They have public restrooms, they have a staff visitor information center, they have ambassador volunteers that we even ran into when we were walking in downtown Boulder. And so they have 80 programmed events annually, but there's buskers, musicians out there every day of the year. And it is one of America's best retail plaza areas, if not the best. And the rents are so high there, businesses have to be savvy. But you know what? There's no vacancies. That's how important plazas are. Number 10, multiple levels create intimate spaces within plaza. Not every city is fortunate to have a flat plaza area. So we're going to take you to Pax Square in Asheville, North Carolina. They developed this in just 2010, 2011. It's still a development project. They spent about $20 million on it, plus a $2 million endowment that's set aside for programming and upgrades and to maintain it. The size, it's about 6.5 acres. It's very lineal, but it's a hilly area. And so what this does, this slopes all the way down, as you can see in this artist rendition. Back in the background, you can see a stage area, then a kind of a flat area, and then it steps up into another plaza. So what they've done in this case is create several plaza areas, all leading down through this 6.5 acres. Here's a close-up of that. You can see that plaza area. That's in the background there. And in the foreground, it's up another level, but you can see they add a lot of water features to that one. And here it is. So as you can see, there's the stage. I'm actually standing on the stage area, and right in front of me, that's a water feature there. But when you shut off the water feature, you can also use that for seating. You could put chairs on the little flat area, and then you can see back, it steps up and it steps up and it steps up, creating a terrific plaza. Number 11. Make sure you include a permanent year-round stage. Some of these you saw had temporary stages, but we always encourage permanent stages. That way you have the power requirements, the lighting requirements, you have the covering, and that it can do a mix of entertainers and events and musicians and activities. This is Arcadia Creek Festival Place in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The population there is about 75,000. This opened in 2004. The approximate cost was $2.7 million. The size, it's about 2.5 acres. And this is it, Arcadia Creek. There's the gateway into it. So here is, you can see how it is the nucleus in part of downtown Kalamazoo. You can see it there. You can see the tented stage up near the top part of the plaza, and you can see water down at the lower part. And so here you go. Here it is from an aerial view of the plaza. You can see kind of a dome covering off to the right where you can put other activities. And then they've got the grassy area back behind it. And here it is with some of the activities going on in the park. It is amazing. And notice the water feature there. And by the way, that stage is 20 by 50 feet, and it's got a vinyl covering that you can actually take off if you have heavy snow or wind loads, and there's nothing going on, but it creates a great structure. This is that little plaza area off to the right of that. You know, if you build it, they will come. This hosts car shows, concerts, all kinds of activities on a year-round basis. What was it prior? It was a parking lot. Remember what I said, people are willing to give up parking lots for plazas, and they complain about it incessantly in the beginning, and at the end of the day, they love it because it's worth walking a block or two for. A private nonprofit raised $1.5 million, and the project came in at $2.7 million, so they borrowed money from a foundation to pay that back, and they weren't able to pay it back, and so the city who owns it will now pay it back with the foundation matching the funds. So this is one thing when you didn't have all the money in place, it came in a little higher. And so it's always a good idea to figure out what is this going to cost, and let's make sure we can pay this thing back. Now, it's been a great investment for the city, and it has spurred up a lot of tax base and redevelopment around Arcadia Creek. While we're in Kalamazoo, let's head to Bronson Park. You know, once again, it's right in the downtown, and this is it. Now, it was just a park, and what they did is they built a plaza within the park. And so here you can see where Arcadia Creek is at the top of your picture, and Bronson Park is down there lower. So there's several blocks of park. So what they've done is created a couple of these different plaza areas. And you can see the plaza in that lower picture is kind of in the center of the park. And here it is. And they have a permanent year-round stage there. It's a great gathering place. It's great for musicians, entertainers, cooking demonstrations, you name it. You can see a water feature in the foreground. I got there just before the winter season and they had just drained it. But it's very cool, it's very interactive. And you can see here where there's entertainment going on in Bronson Park. Kids even hanging out in the trees overlooking the stage and the seating area. That's how cool a plaza can be. So sometimes you can take a plaza and put it in a park. They blend together perfectly. Number 12, close to or part of a year-round public market. Public markets and public plazas should be joined at the hip if you can do it. And I'll give you Market Square in Fallbrook, California. The population, just over 30,000. When was this developed? In 1993. The size, it's only 6,000 square feet. So here's downtown Fallbrook, and you can see where the plaza is. It's that little corner. It used to be just a disheveled asphalt parking lot. Right across the street from it was a pharmacy that went away, and it is now the Fallbrook Art Center. So now you got the Art Center right across the street from the plaza, and here it is. So you can see they put a little half brick wall around it, 6,000 square feet. They got a little water feature there. And it is a public market, a farmer's market, sometimes it's an art market. It's just the coolest little public gathering space ever. And it has really become the nucleus for downtown Fallbrook, this cool little place. You can even see the chess pieces. They have chess pieces that are, heck, pretty tall, pretty big sized chess pieces. You can go in there and have chess games, but it can be anything you want. You can do chainsaw carvers in there, ice carvers, you name it. It is just a public market area. And it has revitalized all Fallbrook. This is across the street from it. And there is what used to be a pharmacy right across the street is now the Art and Cultural Center. And they do amazing shows in there. It's really a great showcase and really plays up the artistic brand of Fallbrook. And so this was a gorge show. I actually ended up buying one while I was there. It was really cool. And so you can see how this is created a farmer's market, a public market, and a public plaza all in just 6,000 square feet. Isn't that cool? It's very fun, it's very beautiful, and it has just been a winner for downtown Fallbrook. So, what was it prior? An empty commercial lot, broken up concrete, weeds growing through it. Funding sources, it was a local city project. We guesstimated it at about $140,000 to redevelop that. It's managed by the city. It's home to Fallbrook's public market. So, number 13, the last of our ingredients. It must be year-round activity center, not seasonal. You know, this is Main Street Square in downtown Rapid City, South Dakota. You're seeing it in the summer, and this is it in the winter. It has an ice skating rink that's bigger than Rockefeller Plaza in New York. That makes it year-round. So before we get to Rapid City, because I'm going to tell you more about that, I want to show you some other great examples. Here we go.